Hello and welcome to my shop. Back in September, after I went to the Midwest Ohio Valley Pin Turners gathering, I was contacted by Tim Giest, and Tim runs Giest Manufacturing, and he makes a lot of equipment, bushings, and accessories for turners. And this is one of the things he makes. It's a sanding jig. And he said, Bob, I want to send you one of my jigs that I make, and I just want you to use it and let me know what you think about it. And you guys saw this in my video because since I got this and since I started using it, I have not used a barrel trimmer. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this today. And I'm not being paid to do this. I know I received it free, but I don't have to do a video on it. I wasn't asked to do one. You guys have been asking me about it, so I thought I would take the time to just tell you about it and give you the information. One of the things I like about this is it is non-aggressive. It uses your disc sander, and it uses the table on your disc sander and the miter gauge to make sure that it's perfectly square. So I get a perfectly perpendicular end of a tube every single time. I really like that. Plus, being that it's on the sander, the drum sand or the disc sander, I'm not dealing with the aggressiveness of 4 carbide cutters on a barrel trimmer. Many times on blanks that are a little more punky, things like spalted woods, you get that barrel trimmer in there and it'll split that blank apart and tear it up. You're not going to have that with this because you're using the sanding disc alone, and you control the amount of pressure that you put against the disc from this jig, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute. Now, if you purchase one of these jigs, there's one additional set of tools that you're going to have. Luckily, they're extremely cheap too, and I'm going to show you what those are, and then we're going to show you how the tool works. The additional tools you'll need are a set of punches. Now, these are something that are worth having even if you don't have this jig, because I use these for disassembling pins. Let's say that you press a nib into the wrong end of a blank. You can choose the proper size punch and you can knock that nib out and then press it into the proper end. So any turner should have these in their shop. I purchased this set from Penn State, and I want to say they were in the $15 price range. I've seen them as low as $8 at some of the discount tool stores. Now, the way these work is you'll take a blank, and in this case, we have a blank with a 27 64-inch tube. We're going to select the proper punch. We'll slide the punch into the tool, and I like to take a little measurement. I like the punch to be almost the full length of the blank. I want to leave a little bit because I'll be sanding some stuff away, and I don't want this to hit my sanding disc. We'll tighten it down. And then the blank will ride on the punch as we run it through the sander to clean up the end. One improvement I've made to the sanding jig is I've added a clamp. Now, this is just a little C-clamp. You can pick these up pretty well anywhere, and they're going to be real inexpensive. And the reason why I added it is I was trying to hold this in place while rotating this blank. And what happens is it becomes very difficult. Occasionally, you'll let the jig get at a little bit of an angle, or you'll push the jig in too far and jam the blank against the sanding disc, and that's just a recipe for disaster. You're not going to get a good clean trim on the end of your blank. By putting the clamp here, I can now hold the miter gauge with my left hand, pushing it in and out, and I can rotate the blank with my right hand, and I can push it into the wheel, giving it just enough pressure to sand, but not putting so much pressure on it that I'm going to sand too far or damage the sanding disc or the blank. That's really all there is to it. You noticed as I was moving the jig back and forth, I rotated the blank with my other hand, and what that does is make sure that I get uniform surface area on the disc. Periodically, I would pull it back and pull the blank off and check to make sure you can see on there the brass tube. I was just checking the depth so I knew how much farther I had to sand, but pretty much that's all there is to it. I'll blow a little compressed air through the tube to get that dust out of there, and this is ready to go to the lathe. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that I was able to answer all of the questions that you have about this jig. If I did not, please leave a comment below, and I will get back to you and attempt to answer that question to the best of my ability. I'd like to thank you for joining me for this video. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, and have a great evening, everybody.